Frank, welcome. This is our Small Business Growth Series, and very honoured to have you here as our guest, CEO of Constant Contact. Frank, tell us a little bit about Constant Contact for those that don't know who we are and what we do. What are we all about?
So Constant Contact, we were founded 30 years ago in Boston, Massachusetts. And our mission then was to help enable a small business to compete effectively with their larger rivals through an efficient marketing platform. And today that mission holds true. It is still the same mission. The tools have changed. The technology is certainly more robust. The number of features and options a customer has for marketing are significantly more robust. However, the mission to help small businesses compete against their larger rivals by being their marketing sidekick is still our goal.
Yeah, and I love that about what we do, because I think what we talk a lot about is the fact that small business owner-operators, they're wearing a lot of hats. They're the CTO, the CEO, the CMO, the COO, all the Cs. How do you think, we really help plug that gap from a marketing perspective? Because I think the main thing is that there's a knowledge gap. We know there's a knowledge gap in small businesses in terms of the marketing side of things, in terms of being exploratory, going into different channels. How do you think we do that well?
Yeah. Well, a small business owner gets into business to do something they're either really good at or they love, or hopefully both. And it isn't marketing, or they'd be in the marketing business. And in order for them to spend the most time at what they're great at, regardless of the subject, using tools that are easy to use, intuitive, and enable them to do something they otherwise cannot do is really important. And making it so that a small business user can get through that complexity in a non-complex, easy-to-use and intuitive way, where the software does the work for them and helps them on their journey to market, is how we enable them.
And I think what I like about the way the platform works is the way it brings it all together into one place. I think a lot of people understand how email works, right? As personal, we understand from a personal level how it all works. But in terms of then taking that and translating that into an email you can use to promote your business, that ends up sort of broadening that knowledge gap a little bit in terms of how do I even get started? And I think a lot of people talk about the content part of that too, and the challenges around, I'm not a writer. I started my business because I am passionate about what I do, to your point. They're passionate about what their business does, but then marketing it is a whole other level. And then the content piece is really challenging. And I think most people have had a stab at ChatGPT and have really used that. But we then took that a step further, didn't we, in terms of how we've incorporated that into the platform? Like, how do you see the future of using sort of AI in content generation in this kind of platform?
Yeah. So AI specifically is used throughout the platform. And before an email gets sent, before someone spends a lot of time creating content, some of the things our customers don't see is the ability to get that delivered. If you spend time on a marketing campaign, then it should get delivered. And we put a lot of effort into ensuring we have the best deliverability in the world. And how do we do that? It's using artificial intelligence to help you with subject lines that don't get pulled out of spam, helping you with content that we call engaging, things your client will engage with, and then making the creation of content much more self-service, much more intuitive. One of the things that I love in our platform is a new feature where we can scrape your website, take your colors, take your logo, take your formats, make the email have your unique look and feel, and then help you with content that is tailored towards an audience. I want to cater to a Gen X or a millennial audience, and the wording will be different. The graphics will be different. And then, since marketing is so much more than email, engaging that in a campaign. How do you follow up with SMS activities? How do you post to social? How do you use data on your customers' clicks and activity to learn how to market better and more efficiently to them. And that's how it all comes together on an AI-driven platform, hopefully invisible and easy to use for our customer.
And I think the way that the platform's taken it a step further and then helped plan out campaigns is really cool, because it's not only a knowledge gap that we see, and our small business survey results, particularly for Australia and New Zealand, really presented the challenges around the knowledge, but it's time. The time challenges are really evident as well. So the ability to say, hey, I'm going to be doing a launch, we're at the farmers market, we're doing this sort of promotion, this is my business, or even, from a URL perspective, this is my website, now generate not only an email, but a full-fledged campaign around email, SMS, and social is so cool. And I think from a marketing perspective, even marketers, people who are genuinely marketers, not small business owner operators, really respect that, because that really takes a lot of the thinking out, and then you can just edit it from there. But from a small business perspective, having that recommendation of, okay, send this email, then 2 days later do an SMS, then 2 days later social, and choose these types of channels is super beneficial.
And how do you follow up with people who have opened your email and clicked on a certain thing? And how do you follow up with people who haven't opened an email? And how do you make it more engaging? And these are the things that if you had a marketing department like we do, you'd think of. But as a small business owner, and our studies show that small business owners don't have more than just a couple of hours a week to devote to marketing. It has to be intuitive, and it has to be something easy to use. As well, what marketers, and particularly small business marketers, will do is create a campaign or a content once and use it for the same farmers market this year and next year and the year after. And things change. The look and feel, the audience, all have to match. And being able to use automations to update campaigns and make them fresh is really important, even if the message is very similar.
Yes. So the Small Business Report for Australia and New Zealand specifically indicated that small businesses only have about $15,000 a year here for marketing spend. That's not a lot of dollars to stretch. And so, from my perspective as well, in looking at that, if I was in their shoes with only $15,000 to spend, you really need to look at the channels where you have the most ROI, like the most bang for your buck. Emails still number one when it comes to ROI, and then socials quickly, behind that. But, it's not a lot of money to spend. So when we sort of are supporting small businesses and helping them to grow, we are keeping that in mind, and it is really important from a product development perspective as well. But you also spoke about the fact that we're helping small businesses with competing with the big guys. Mm-hmm. I know that's something that's really close to your heart and you're passionate about. Maybe talk a little bit about that, because that really does, it's the crux of what we do at Constant Contact as well.
First of all, the stats you mentioned about Australia are pretty consistent globally. A small business doesn't have much more than about $12,000 US a year to spend, and whatever conversion it is, Australian dollars or euros or pounds. And our whole company is built along the lines of helping them take that spend and the few minutes a day they have as far as they can. And our efforts are really around the intersection of those two things. Small businesses are community-based. You have to connect with your community. 90% of people in a community interact with small businesses within their community at least once a week. And that small connection to that group of local constituents is really, really important. And then in order to compete, broadening that reach outside of a community is important. And I've had the good fortune of working in small businesses, being a small business owner, and now being here helping small businesses.
Which is so important in Australia and New Zealand, because we are small business economies here. So in both Australia and New Zealand, 98% of the businesses in each respective country are small businesses. So they have small business challenges. They're really different to enterprise challenges. But one of the things that I think, isn't necessarily unique to being a small business owner, operator, and an enterprise is the need for good support locally. And I think one of the things we're super proud of is that we've been able to bring local support. So our entire support team is based here in Brisbane. And I think that really lends itself to the fact that we're really serious about investing in this region. You know, we've grown the number of people we have here as well by about 25% and continuing to grow. But the support piece and having customer success managers locally is obviously something that you're really passionate about as well.
Support and sales and customer success, all the things that touch a client should be close to them in their time zone, understanding their currency, understanding their market, understanding what goes on in the community, an election cycle, the season we're in, winter versus summer, for example. And that's really, really important. And I got to live that as a Canadian, being so close to the United States. You understood that your differences weren't always respected. And with those roots, respecting local differences is really, really important.
So we've spoken a little bit around the AI side and how Constant Contact has really advanced in that sense. Talk me through a little bit about how we've made changes from a campaign and branding perspective, because those changes are really exciting as well.
Yeah. When we're asked about artificial intelligence, it really doesn't mean a lot until we can quantify the benefit in terms of a user's experience. And we have had secure and scalable and deliverable product for a long time, and it continues to get better. But really, what's important to a small business user is the availability of features they can see that improve their marketing benefit. Some of the things we're happy to have launched recently is, first, we start with BrandKit. What is BrandKit? Well, our studies show that the first stumbling block in a marketer's experience is, what should I write? How should it look? And we can now ask you to put in your website, if you have one, and from there, create your first template. It will take your colors and your logo and your palette and make the deliverable congruent with that, so it looks just like you. And so that's the BrandKit. It takes your brand and ensures that your brand is reflected in everything you do from either an email or a full-on campaign perspective. That's AI-driven, and it makes what used to be a lot of clicking and cutting and pasting really, really easy. Then we build upon that, and once you're comfortable with email content you've created, we grow into Campaign Builder. And Campaign Builder is all about saying, hey, there's so much more to marketing than just sending an email. How do I build a full-on campaign that includes follow-up, whether that be through other emails based on an action that's been taken, an open or a click-through, SMS, social posting, and we want to be able to cater to a small business marketer at any level of marketing need or sophistication, from the very basic, hey, help me send a newsletter or an email, to, hey, let me run a full-on campaign where I use data to segment my audience, to market differently based on historical responses from segments within my audience, to follow up based on an action, and we make that all very user-friendly, intuitive, and simple. Again, our attempt to be the marketing person or the sidekick that you don't have as a small business.
And I think so small businesses that are part of franchises still have these challenges as well, because from a franchise perspective, you don't want all sort of the local businesses to be marketing in different ways. So it comes back to the importance of the branding and having that level of consistency. And that's what I love about what we've done with Constant Contact as well, is is enable at a corporate governance level for the marketing team to be able to have that sense of control over the message and the brand and what gets delivered, but also from an ease perspective, allow that to happen really easily rather than, in a piecemeal approach, across, say, your 100 stores, for example. But it also empowers the local business as well. So local area marketing is so important to a small business. If you own a certain territory, you want to be able to market locally and feel like a local business. And so enabling and empowering the local business as well as having that top-down approach from a corporate governance perspective for the marketing team is super valuable as well. And that's what I love about what we've done from a franchise perspective at Constant Contact.
Yes. Catering to the franchise community is a unique offering. The franchisor is typically a large company and understand the marketing needs of a larger company. But the franchisee is a small business, a sole proprietor of a franchise. And being able to serve the needs of both of those parties is really important. And how do we do that? Well, we allow the franchisor to recognize that certain things, be it brand and perhaps national campaigns that need to be done, can be done uniformly and consistently, so the brand is protected. But also respecting that the franchisee, the small business owner, needs to do local and community-based advertising and connection and follow-up and have the autonomy and the freedom to do that with a tool that does that. We have many clients that range from global package delivery companies to tutoring franchises that use us and that template. The parent will contract for the platform, and it will get delivered locally through every individual franchise. And the good news is we treat every franchisee like a standalone customer from a support perspective, because we know that's where the support is really needed. The day they want to send their campaign out is the day they need support, and having to go through a parent is not always the best, so they can always access our support individually.
And I love that too, because I think from a training perspective, they do need access to that, and need that to be readily available. And I think we've been able to achieve that as well. But what I love about the platform, though, is that it's pretty easy to use. So, there are certainly other platforms, and I've been trained in using other platforms before when I've been part of enterprise organizations, and it's weeks, sometimes months before, you have your certification, you're able to get stuck in and actually start sending campaigns. Very, very complex platforms, and that suits a certain type of organization, which is why we've gone very tailored to the small business and enabling a non-marketer to be able to get going same day.
And that's very, very important, being able to recognize both of those needs. One of the things that makes me most proud about this company is when we poll our customers and ask, well, what do you like about Constant Contact? The two things that come up are your product is really easy to use and makes me feel like I can market. And the second is our support. Customers love the ability to call in for support. And by support, 82% of our support calls have nothing to do with the quality of our product. It is, I need help getting this campaign out. Can you help me with marketing support, not so much product support? And so we're proud. We've had support for our entire history, and it's here to stay. And so much so we've invested in local support agents in the Australian market to take the calls locally.
And our local support team can really leverage what we've got in the US as well. And that's really important when it comes to email deliverability, isn't it?
Yeah. Email deliverability is something that doesn't get talked about all that often. It gets taken for granted. But the science and technology behind getting billions of emails delivered to their endpoint is what makes email marketing still the best ROI, the best return on a marketing dollar spent is email marketing. Because if you can get it delivered and you can have engaging content, then you do get a response from your clients. And our support organization is there to help. Our technology is there to help. We won't let you send bad emails out. We have a high degree of security that ensures that links are tested and no bad email goes out, and that's part of our high deliverability stats.
Being able to say 97% email deliverability is pretty cool. Yeah. There's not too many companies out there that are able to put that to their name.
Correct.
And I think a big piece of that as well is around staying abreast of changes. And that's something that a small business owner operator is not going to be able to do, to sit there and say, okay, what's Google and Yahoo's decision, this month in terms of how they receive emails and what changes are going to be made. And, that trust then gets placed with us.
It really does. And we have years and years of history interacting with the people who deliver the most email, Yahoo, Google, Microsoft, Apple, to ensure that we are always aligned with the standards. We're on governing bodies, so we understand and help develop the right standards. We are an ethical email delivery platform, meaning we don't condone spam, we don't condone lists that were not built the right way. And so in able to protect our customers' reputation and ours, deliverability and security are top of what we do.
So we've spoken a lot about the challenges of small businesses in general, with being stretched for time, having a bit of a knowledge gap. But I think, aside of whether you're a small business or not, there's, tough economic times ahead. We're kind of in that right now. The climate has definitely changed. How do you think that uniquely affects small businesses?
We spend a lot of time surveying the small business, and we ask, what are you most worried about? And things like the economy come up, but there's a whole list of other things that come up, whether it is my ability to be known and to market, my ability to hire the right people, my ability to get financing if I need it. These things always make the top of the list. But if there's one word we generally sum up these surveys with, it's called resilience. We see consistently that good times or bad, small businesses are very resilient. And the reason seems to be that small businesses have to operate like the economy is tough all the time. Getting started is hard. Hiring people, your first set of people, is hard. Raising money, if you need to get a loan, is hard. And through these difficulties, small business owners grow and develop a very consistent way to be resilient and weather the times. And we actually see that in aggregate, small businesses do better than their bigger competitors when the times are tough, because they've developed that muscle, that know-how of how to run lean and run tight, because they're always running tight. Through that, marketing plays an important role. The consistency with which your prospects and your customers know you is important. We see people who advertise or market during key holiday periods, and you touch so many people at your peak times, it's really important to remind them of the great service and the great experience they've had with you when they're not buying or when they're not necessarily interested in what you're doing today, so that when they are, you're top of mind. And this regular cadence of marketing and connection, and it's not a coincidence, staying in constant contact with your customers and your prospects is really, really important and helps a business weather the inconsistencies.
And I think it comes down to creating and maintaining the loyalty, right? Yes. Because it's one thing you get the customer through the door, and how do you keep them coming back? And I think, some of the perception could be, not wanting to annoy people with email and other channels. But the reality is that people do want to hear from you. People are, if they, enjoy your product or your service and you've got something to say and it's meaningful, It's well presented, it's well written, it's timely, it's personalized, but they're all factors that, as a small business owner operator, you may not be across. That's where we tend to help in terms of making sure that it's ticking all the right boxes. But, creating the loyalty, maintaining that loyalty during tough economic times is really important. So leaning into the marketing, doubling down on it as opposed to taking a step back is going to be really important.
Yeah. One of the interesting poll studies I saw is we polled consumers. Where would you like to buy more of the things you purchase or the services you get? The vast majority say through a local small business. Then we ask, and how often do you use the local small business? And the response is the opposite. Oh, I go to a big box store for that. And then we ask why. And the answer is, I didn't remember. I didn't think about it. I didn't realize the small business down the street did that at the time I was buying. And this is why it's important to be top of mind so that when that decision is being made, they remember the small business. I think as well, as the economy gets tough, more and more consumers are more and more interested in patronizing their small businesses. They like that they know the person they are getting the goods or services from. The experience is generally much better, and reminding them of that serves the small business owner very well.
It does. And I think Australian and, New Zealand businesses are, inherently local in terms of their focus. And I think a lot of people like to buy local. I think there's been some really great campaigns at a government level even to really try and encourage that. But yet some of the data that I've seen as well has been that most people never hear from that small business ever again. And, that muscle memory of like, where did I even buy that from, and that's tough, right? Like, so if you haven't received comms, we naturally are not always going to remember that. So encouraging the small business to, collect that information, that's some of the educating and the knowledge sharing that we do as well in terms of like, how can you ask for a mobile number? How do you ask for an email? And I think people are getting more savvy with that, particularly, as you see the Gen Zs coming through as well, in terms of growing their lists. And that's an important part of being successful, in marketing your business is actually having a list that you grow and you nurture over time. But it can be challenging to get going.
Yes. Often people get going with social. And as a platform that's evolved and a mature platform for marketing connects your social interactions with your email interactions, with your SMS interactions. And small business owners are often reluctant and don't want to be viewed as spamming their clients or their prospects. We relate to that. We find that consumers don't view it as spam when they've signed up. When unsubscribe is easily done and ethically done. When I unsubscribe, I want to be unsubscribed. We put a lot of effort into that, and that's important. And so we find that the small business owner who has the confidence to use all the tools, social, that's where a lot of activity happens. Yet that's a hard marketing platform, and converting social into a list that you own, that you can understand and learn from so that you market effectively and efficiently to the people who want your marketing goes a long way. As a small business owner, you've probably given great experience. Your customers probably know your name, and it's great to remind them of that warm sentiment, that great feeling they got when they did business with you.
Agree. And you touched on a really good point around social. So I think that a lot of small businesses know they need social. That's a given. And it's, free to get going, and you create your channels and you get your following. And that is really critical, and it complements, email and SMS marketing really well as well. But you don't own that channel necessarily, or that page. It can be taken away at any given point in time, and you don't always have the contact details of those people. And I think that what we've seen some of the small businesses have those challenges as well about not being able to fully control that. and changes happen all the time as well, and it can influence your business if you're purely relying on the social platforms and not having the contact details of those followers as well.
Yeah, social is great. You want to be known and you want to be out there. Followers are not necessarily constituents you can engage in. They may or may not see what you've posted. They may or may not interact with what you've posted. The social platforms don't want you to lure customers away from the social platform, so the algorithms degrade your marketing if you put a link in that takes them off the platform. So being able to engage across all elements, social and more traditional marketing, such as email, such as SMS, all come together for a full experience. And the reality of today's marketing experiences, you have to do all, and you need a platform that can connect with all of those elements so that you're fully covered.
And managing all of that separately is really tough.
And a platform that lets you reuse content. We talked about BrandKit, a platform that lets you take your brand, look and feel of your logo, your colors, and use that in your social posts and in your email campaigns. Using the consistent wording and campaign language on your SMS follow-up are all very important. This consistency, this familiarity is what makes your campaign more engaging to your to your constituents and your customers as well. And this fear of, will I be viewed as spam? Not if you're professional, not if you're got great content, and specifically clients have signed up to be a part of your community and done the right way. They're happy to get it.
Especially if the content is engaging. And we've spoken a little bit about the AI piece of what we do. What I love about the way that it works is being able to, indicate the tone and see that it generates that in different ways. So, an announcement and, having, a display at the farmer's market or a promotion of some kind, is different to a transactional email, right? The tone is very, very different. So I love that we're sort of guiding people through that. There is a lot of talk around the challenges of using AI and the ethics behind it. I mean, what's your stance on using AI for content generation?
First is protect your client's data. So we would never put any proprietary data into an AI machine. The way we use AI is to pull things that make the experience of marketing easier for our client. So content generation, telling the machine, I'm a coffee shop that wants to sell beans in bulk over the holiday season, and then having it come up with wording that serves a different audiences, a younger audience, an older audience, a fun tone, a serious tone, a holiday tone, and getting to have multiple variations that you can choose from that sound like you want it to without having to create it is a perfect example. Then taking that and delivering it to your lists makes your list never get exposed to the AI engine. And so we're very protective of keeping our customers' data secure and our data secure. But it's all about efficiency and helping our clients get to marketing impact with the little time, the little spend that they have to dedicate towards marketing is really the goal of using great technology.
On that note, we've spoken about small businesses using Constant Contact and leveraging the platform end to end. And we see a lot of digital marketing agencies and even, freelancers, entrepreneurs that are just starting out and really trying to grow their business quickly. And a lot of that's digital. But digital marketing agencies are really leveraging the Constant Contact platform as well and really seeing benefit from that.
Yes, thanks for mentioning our digital agencies. We love our digital agencies. So at Constant Contact, we have thousands and thousands of digital agencies that are our partners. We have an obligation to help make them successful. Typically, our digital marketing agency partners are small businesses, just like their clients. They're community-based. They have a handful of local clients. And to the extent we can help them grow their business, grow their platform into a SaaS business where they can use our tool to do great work for more customers than they otherwise could, is important. And this is the value we want to bring to our agency partners.
Well, thank you, Frank. And thank you for joining us in our Small Business Growth series. It's been a pleasure to have you here. Appreciate you flying over from the US to come and hang out with us here in Brisbane. We always enjoy the time that you spend here with us and with our customers, partners, and our resellers. So thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me, Renee.